Hi there, Henrique. So it's nice to see that you have written an essay for us. Great job. Let's take a look and see what you wrote. Okay, enjoyable activity with a child. So, reading is a very important activity that should be done by everyone, but some people believe that doing enjoyable activities can develop imagination and other relevant skills to a higher level than just reading alone, especially, don't forget the E, during childhood without the. This essay exposes what can be achieved carefully through spelling with a fun and attention catcher occupation. All right, this was fine except for this attention catcher occupation. That's not an appropriate collocation. It doesn't really tell us what you want it to tell us in English, so it should be something else. It should be attention getting activity. I think you mean something like that instead. All right, so let's keep going. In the digital era, playing on video consoles lets a child increase reflexes, cognitive connections, and even foreign languages, since it's necessary to read the instructions and to reach the goals inside the game. Okay, so, you know what? Let me finish the paragraph and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Recent studies by MIT show that doctors who played more electronic games during childhood got 40% better in the operations using specific new surgery machines. All right, so here's what I want to tell you about this paragraph. It's just not really developed. You only have 2 sentences in it, and so that really doesn't make a paragraph. Refer to the template from the online course to see all the elements that your paragraphs really should have. Okay? This definitely feels underdeveloped. It's missing a lot of the key sentences we need. It's missing some of that support. Okay? And then, of course, the sentence that really tells us what the main idea is, both in the beginning and then that wrap-up sentence at the end, which also kind of links everything together again. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. Oh, and there was a couple of other things. I want to talk a little bit about the grammar. You don't increase reflexes, okay? You could say that you improve reflexes. That would be okay. All right? And then we don't use contractions. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry. We don't use contractions, so it should just be, it is necessary. We write the words fully out in IELTS, okay? Never just a shortened version. It is necessary to read the instructions to reach the goals inside the game. And then you don't want to say they got 40% better in the operations. I think you mean something else. They performed 40% better in operations using specific new surgery machines, okay? So those were some of the word choice and some of the grammatical things that needed some improvement. Let's look at the next paragraph. However, comma, the virtual world is not the only one that exists to improve the development of new generation. Is that what you mean? I don't know what duration means. I think you mean a different word here. Here you need some sort of punctuation, so you either need a semicolon or a full stop. All right, but just the comma itself is not going to do it. Okay, so numerous soft skills are really important and developed as well during sports activities such as leadership, sense of unity, and discipline that cannot be fully developed only by reading about it. Okay, about them. Cannot be developed only by reading about them, not it. Due to the fact that a correlation can be made. You don't do a correlation, you make a correlation. Due to the fact that a correlation can be made with real jobs and sports, skills developed in it, okay, can easily 1L be replicated in the real world. I would have gotten rid of day by day. The Washington Post published last year an interview with the top 10 CEOs, and 8 of them were sports leaders in college and university. Okay, therefore what? What are you telling us? All right, remember that you have to link it back. Okay, let's see. Okay, fine. So enjoyable activities talks the language of the youngers. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you mean by talks the language, and youngers is the wrong word. I think you mean youngsters here, because youngers isn't really a word. And based on this, I largely, 1L, agree that they produce, because remember, it's activities. So they produce better results than, no S, only reading alone. The combination of both creates a person that is able to find information, get rid of the, and transform it into a real-world idea. Be careful with your spelling. Okay, so here's the thing, Henrique. You haven't really applied the template as well as you should. Okay, remember, it's there to help you in a lot of different ways. So do use it and try to follow it in your writing. Okay, there are some areas where you've got some word choices and also some grammar things happening that make your meaning a little difficult, but on the whole, it was okay. But what you really have to focus on is developing a little more. And I think that if you follow the template, you'll find that easier to do. So try to adopt it a little more in your next writing. Okay, let me take a look at your second essay. Okay, here it is. It's one about schools, whether they should entertain or whether they should solely educate. So here's what you said. Being a silent and organized room full of obedient children is an image that a parcel of the society believe that a school must look like, instead of a culture-rich environment where ideas can be discussed and experiments happen all the time using every single resource available. This essay demonstrates the advantages of non-standard model classroom against the old-fashioned one that was considered correct. Okay, so you've got a paragraph here that's just one sentence, and one of the reasons I read it like that is because I wanted you to see what happens when there's no punctuation. Yeah, you've got some commas. There was like one, I think, somewhere. But it's certainly not enough, and your introduction definitely needs to have at least 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, you don't want to make it super long. It's more important to focus on your body paragraphs, but you do need to have at least a couple of sentences in your introduction. So the first thing we need to do here is break this giant sentence up a little bit. All right, so let's start there. And let's also at the same time talk a little bit about some of this grammar happening here. You don't want to say being a silent. I don't know, the being doesn't really help you at all here. It has no purpose here. So let's start a little differently. Let's try getting rid of the being, basically. So it should say, a silent and organized room full of obedient children is an image that I wouldn't say a parcel, I would say a portion of the society believes that a school must have, not look like, that a school must have, instead of a culturally, so A-L-L-Y, rich environment where ideas can be discussed and experiments happening all the time, using every single resource, no S, available. Full stop. This essay demonstrates the advantages, careful with your typing, of, and I want you to be careful here, non-standard model room. You never mentioned anything about entertainment here. Okay, so we're not talking about necessarily new methodologies of teaching, but we're talking about bringing in entertainment into the classroom, this idea of fun into the classroom. And if we learn or if our schools basically need to have fun, not even necessarily whether we learn better with fun. That's certainly something you could argue, okay? But you have to be careful with this non-standard model classroom and make sure that it's clear you're talking specifically about entertainment, all right? So I already told you that we don't use contractions, so you already know that. So let's move on. Firstly, it is much easier to get attention, get rid of all, from the students while using eye-catching materials, S, visual media, to connect all the knowledge with real-world examples. Careful with your spelling. For instance, recent studies, get rid of the A, by Brazilian University USP indicate, because remember it's studies, indicate that the retention level of younger people exposed to interactive and fun lessons increases up to 70%, which reinforces, get rid of the R, that non-conventional approaches are superior. Now, careful here, are superior to the traditional ones. You're making a comparison here that something is superior to something else. So this is the wrong comparison. All right? You're not comparing non-conventional approaches to the new generation. You're comparing non-conventional methods to older ones, conventional ones. Okay. However, some topics still need an intensive review to find the right manner to be expressed in an enjoyable way. For instance, the lessons in a physics class that bring a huge baggage of calculation inherent by the nature of this solely science, whereas art and history are able to produce Hollywood-quality documentaries capable to transmit the intended message while displays delightful images and sound effects. Okay, so again, you've got a paragraph with one sentence. That's not going to work. You have to break it down a little bit more. And I really didn't understand what you were trying to say. Okay, so let's look at it. All right, so however, some topics still need intensive review, without the and, to find the right manner to be expressed in an enjoyable way. Full stop. For instance, lessons in a physics class bring huge amounts of calculations which are inherent in the nature of the lesson, or are inherent in the nature of this pure science. Then I would stop here again, full stop. However, or no, you already said however. In contrast, and I didn't understand this, arts and history are able to produce Hollywood-quality documentaries. So that was really confusing to me. What does it have to do with having fun in classrooms and that schools should include entertainment in classrooms? So I wasn't really clear where you were going with this. Again, it's underdeveloped. I would actually ask you to also check your word count. It feels rather short to me. So that's another area that we need to really think about, okay? But this paragraph really wasn't clear to me what you were trying to argue. In conclusion, the shift to a new teaching age is a reality that archaic institutions must adapt to be considered in the future for the newest generations to come that will be thirst for knowledge. No, grammatically this is problematic. Let's try it again. In conclusion, the shift to a new teaching age is a reality, and archaic institutions must adapt to be considered in the future for the new generations. Full stop, I guess. This sentence is creating some problems for me. I'm trying to rewrite it for you while really keeping your original intent as much as possible, but it's a little difficult to do. So just work with me a little. Let's see if I can fix it to make it grammatically and in terms of meaning make sense. So to be considered in the future for the newest generations. This new generation will have a thirst for knowledge in a fast-paced world with many more questions. I don't know what you mean here by than submission, due to the vast information highway that has been constructed in the past decade. Okay, I think you could have left a lot of this out. And what you really want to just do in your conclusion is just wrap up some of the, just like one or two of the main ideas that you said, which is pretty much that now that we've got this information highway with things changing all the time around us, in order for students to keep up and learn everything they're supposed to learn, schools are going to need to find new ways and new exciting and enjoyable ways to help students process all of this information. Maybe something like that would be better. Okay, and fun is an integral part of this, so that might be a way you could have dealt with this. Okay. Okay, so there's a lot of things that I want you to think about when correcting your essays, because that's actually now your next step. You're going to correct these essays based on this video. Then you need to write an error correction list where you write down all the errors that were pointed out to you. Add to that list with each essay you get back. That's for you to study from so you can learn from the mistakes you keep making. And then, of course, you're going to write a new set of essays. In your new set of essays, I really want you to apply some of the things that I was saying. I want you to really try to use the template a little more closely, okay? I think it will help really kind of have your essays a little more focused. All right, and it will also help you with your word count, because this definitely felt a little short to me. All right, so get that started. Try to send us new essays in the next day or so, and let's meet back here with your next set. Good luck.